On December 14, 2012, a date that altered the fabric of American history, the morning broke in Newtown, Connecticut, with the usual hustle of a school day. But the peace was shattered at 9:35 a.m. when Adam Lanza, a 20-year-old with a troubled past, stepped into Sandy Hook Elementary School. His intentions were deadly. Armed with multiple firearms, he moved through the halls with grim purpose. The first shots rang out, piercing the quiet of classrooms 8 and 10, where children were just beginning their day's lessons. Teachers, in a desperate bid to protect their students, ushered them into closets or bathrooms, barricading doors with whatever they could find. But the gunfire was relentless. Lanza's rampage lasted mere minutes, yet in that time, he ended the lives of 20 children, all between 6 and 7 years old, and 6 adult staff members who had dedicated their lives to education and care. The school, meant to be a sanctuary of learning and growth, transformed into the site of a devastating tragedy. As the last shot rang out in the corridors, the silence that followed was deafening, a sharp contrast to the chaos that had just unfolded. The tragedy at Sandy Hook would not only leave an indelible mark on the community of Newtown, but also ignite a nationwide conversation on gun control, mental health, and the safety of our schools. Within minutes, the school, meant to be a sanctuary, had become the site of a devastating tragedy. Adam Lanza was 20 years old when he carried out the Sandy Hook massacre. From an early age, he exhibited signs of severe mental health issues. Diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, sensory integration disorder, and later with obsessive-compulsive disorder, Lanza's life was one marked by isolation. His reclusive lifestyle had him retreating further from society, his interactions dwindling to almost none outside his home. Living with his mother, Nancy Lanza, in Newtown, Adam had unfettered access to firearms. Nancy was an avid gun collector, and her collection included the weapons her son would use in the attack. On the morning of the tragedy, Adam first killed his mother in their home, taking with him a Bushmaster XM15 E2S rifle, a Glock 20 SF handgun, and a Sig Sauer P2 26 9mm, among others. Despite known issues, there was a glaring lack of intervention. Lanza had stopped attending school, choosing instead to educate himself at home after his mother withdrew him from high school. His mental health deteriorated, yet he did not receive the comprehensive care or oversight that might have prevented such an outcome. The system, from mental health support to gun control, failed at multiple levels, allowing a deeply troubled individual access to deadly weapons. This lack of intervention paints a picture of systemic failure. Schools, medical professionals, and even the family dynamics around Lanza did not provide the necessary checks or support. How did a troubled young man become the architect of such devastation? At approximately 9:35 a.m. on December 14, 2012, Adam Lanza arrived at Sandy Hook Elementary School. He was driving his mother's car, having already killed her at their home. Lanza forced his way into the school through a glass door after it was locked for security. Inside, the first to confront him were Principal Dawn Hawksprung and school psychologist Mary Sherlach. Hearing the initial shots, they rushed towards the noise, hoping to stop the threat. Tragically, they were among the first to be shot and killed in the hallway, their bravery an attempt to protect the students and staff within the school. Lanza then moved towards Classroom 8, where he encountered teacher Victoria Soto. With quick thinking, Soto hid her students in cabinets and closets, telling Lanza they were in the auditorium. He shot and killed her, but her actions saved several lives. In classroom 10, teacher Lauren Rousseau was leading a morning meeting when Lanza entered. She, along with her students, became victims of his rampage. The shooting spree continued through the school's first-grade classrooms. And Marie Murphy, a special education teacher, was found covering students with her body, sacrificing herself in an attempt to shield them from harm. The chaos lasted for roughly 6 minutes, but in that time, Lanza took the lives of 20 children, all aged between 6 and 7 years old, and 6 adult staff members. The victims included not only those already mentioned, but also a teacher, Rachel Davino. As the gunfire ceased, Lanza turned the weapon on himself, ending his own life in classroom 10. No one else was injured by his actions beyond those killed. The school security system had alerted the police almost immediately upon Lanza's forced entry, and within minutes, officers were on the scene. As they arrived, the school was silent, the horror of what had transpired slowly becoming evident. The exact count of the fallen was a clear reminder of the scale of the tragedy. 20 young lives snuffed out before they could truly begin, alongside their protectors, the educators who had dedicated their lives to their students' well-being. As the sirens approached, the town of Newtown was left to grapple with an unfathomable loss. The community, the nation, would never be the same, as the remembrance of that morning's violence lingered through the years to come. In the wake of the Sandy Hook shooting, the community of Newtown was plunged into chaos and grief. Parents, upon hearing the news, raced to the school in a desperate search for their children, their hearts pounding with fear. The scene at Sandy Hook was one of confusion and despair as they were directed to reunification centers set up at nearby firehouses. Here, the relief of finding a child safe was contrasted with the unbearable pain of those who did not. The overwhelming grief spread like wildfire through the small town. Memorials began to form almost immediately, with toys, flowers, and messages covering the ground outside the school. The collective mourning was palpable, a shared agony that bound the community together in their darkest hour. The tragedy at Sandy Hook resonated far beyond Newtown's borders. Across the nation, people held candlelight vigils, their lights a symbol of solidarity and mourning. Flags flew at half-mast, schools observed moments of silence, and the outpouring of support was monumental. Cards, letters, and donations flooded in from around the world, showing a global community united in sorrow and support. This national and international response also sparked immediate calls for action on gun control. The shooting became a pivotal moment in the debate over Second Amendment rights versus the need for stricter gun laws. President Obama visited Newtown, speaking at a prayer vigil, and his emotional speech underscored a national cry for change. Amid this, the Sandy Hook Promise was born, an organization founded by the families of victims with a mission to prevent gun violence. Their focus was not just on gun control, but on education, training, and fostering a culture of empathy and action. They championed programs like the Know the Signs initiative, aimed at teaching young people how to recognize and report signs of potential violence. As the funerals began, the scale of the loss became ever more apparent, each service a testament to lives cut tragically short. The community, while coming together, was also grappling with how to move forward. The initial steps towards gun control reform were met with both hope and resistance. Proposals for background checks, bans on assault weapons, and limits on high-capacity magazines were introduced. However, the political landscape was complex, with debates over rights, safety, and mental health overshadowing immediate legislative action. In this time of profound loss, the question lingered, but could laws change when hearts were broken? The answer was not clear, as the pain of Sandy Hook continued to resonate in the halls of Congress and in the hearts of countless Americans. The thorough investigation by Connecticut State Police, supported by the FBI, concluded with an official report released in November 2013. The findings confirmed that Adam Lanza acted alone in the Sandy Hook shooting. No evidence suggested he had accomplices or that there was a broader conspiracy at play. Lanza's path was meticulously planned, as evidenced by the weapons he carried, his forced entry into the school, and his ultimate suicide to evade capture. Investigators found no clear motive for Lanza's actions. His bedroom revealed a deep obsession with mass murder, including a spreadsheet detailing hundreds of past incidents, and his computer was filled with violent content. However, this did not clarify why he chose Sandy Hook Elementary School or why he committed such an atrocity. Mental health professionals who had interacted with Lanza noted his significant issues, including Asperger's syndrome, anxiety, and obsessive-compulsive disorder, yet none predicted his capacity for such violence. The report concluded that his mental health conditions contributed to his isolation but did not directly cause the shootings. The complexity of Lanza's motives was compounded by his social withdrawal and lack of interpersonal connections. His mother, Nancy Lanza, had tried to engage him with firearms, perhaps in an attempt to connect with him, but this inadvertently gave him the means to carry out the massacre. Investigations revealed that Lanza had access to over a dozen firearms, all legally owned by his mother, highlighting a critical issue in gun control and access. The societal reflection following Sandy Hook was profound. The tragedy sparked debates on mental health care, particularly the need for better intervention and support systems. It raised questions about how someone with known mental health issues could slip through the cracks of society's safety nets. The event also intensified discussions on gun access, leading to calls for stricter background checks, better regulation of firearm ownership, especially concerning high-capacity magazines and assault weapons, and the need for secure gun storage. School safety also came under scrutiny. The incident at Sandy Hook led to a re-evaluation of physical security measures in schools nationwide, with new policies on lockdown procedures, active shooter drills, and the presence of school resource officers. However, the balance between creating a secure environment and maintaining a nurturing educational setting was a point of contention. Despite the comprehensive investigations, the core question of why remained unanswered. The search for answers only led to more questions. Why did mental health fail to intervene effectively? Why was gun access so readily available to someone with Lanza's profile? And how could school safety be fortified without turning schools into fortresses? The tragedy at Sandy Hook left a legacy of unresolved queries, pushing for a deeper examination of these societal issues. Following Sandy Hook, the legislative response was immediate but faced significant hurdles. The Manchin-Toomey Amendment, introduced in April 2013, sought to extend background checks to private and gun show sales. Despite widespread support, its failure in the Senate underscored the contentious nature of gun control debates. This setback was a harsh lesson for advocates of stricter laws, revealing the complexities of enacting change amidst political and cultural divides. However, at the state level, there were notable responses. Connecticut enacted one of the nation's most comprehensive gun control packages after Sandy Hook, including bans on specific weapons and high-capacity magazines, extended background checks, and harsher penalties for gun-related crimes. Other states followed suit, though the national landscape remained divided. School security was dramatically transformed. Lockdown drills, bullet-resistant windows, and the presence of armed security became more common. Yet, this also led to debates about the psychological impact on students, questioning whether such measures could turn schools into fortresses rather than places of learning. Mental health awareness took a leap forward. Programs for early intervention, reducing stigma, and improving access to care were expanded. Schools began integrating more comprehensive mental health support, acknowledging the necessity for preventative measures. The Sandy Hook community has navigated through persistent sorrow with profound resilience. Memorials, including the Sandy Hook Permanent Memorial, stand as tributes, while annual remembrances keep the victims' memories alive, fostering community healing. From this tragedy, individual stories of advocacy have emerged. The Sandy Hook Promise, initiated by victims' families, has become pivotal in preventing gun violence. Their initiatives like Start with Hello and Say Something have reached millions, transforming grief into action. Nicole Hockley, who lost her son Dylan, and Mark Barden, after losing Daniel, have become influential advocates, emphasizing both gun control and mental health reforms. Their work through Sandy Hook Promise showcases how personal tragedy can galvanize societal change. The cultural impact of Sandy Hook has been a stark reminder of our vulnerability and the urgent call for societal improvements. It has sparked ongoing discussions about balancing liberty with security, supporting mental health, and ensuring schools remain safe havens. Sandy Hook isn't just a tragedy, it's a catalyst for change, a reminder of what was lost, and a testament to human endurance. This story, like many others we tell here, encourages us to remember, act, and learn. If you're moved by this narrative and want to stay informed or involved, please subscribe to our channel for more true crime stories that inspire change.